author, depression counselor, and depression survivor. Welcome to your depression recovery channel. And give me 1 second here. I need to go public, which is what I forgot to do. Hello, this is Douglas Block. I'm an author, depression counselor, and depression survivor. Welcome to your depression recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Well, welcome everybody. It's November 22nd, 2017, the day before Thanksgiving. And so we're going to talk a little bit about gratitude today. First, those of you who are old enough to remember, by the way, those of you who just started watching, I'm experimenting with a new mic. Just wanted you to let me know how the sound was. If you could, go ahead and give me that feedback, that would be great. Anyway, I know it's the day before Thanksgiving. A lot of people are probably running around. I don't know how many people are going to be tuning in today, but it is the day before Thanksgiving, and today is also a very important day. November 22nd, 1963 was the day that President John Kennedy was assassinated. It was really a tragic moment. I don't know if any of you were watching. Well, sounds good, Cade? Right. So, Cade, I think you're from Great Britain, or you're from the UK, excuse me, but were you alive in 1963 when John Kennedy was assassinated on this day? I was 14 years old. It was a national trauma for those in America, maybe those in other countries, but it was it's something that everybody remembers where they were at the time of that event. And so, I still can remember, as I say, 44 years later, what was going on. It was very, very, very difficult. We'll come back to that in a minute because, national trauma can cause depression, even if it doesn't happen to you individually. It could be collective trauma. I've been watching the Vietnam series by Ken Burns on OPB. 10 episodes, I've recorded them. I'm watching them one at a time. And what's been going on is that just reliving the period of the war when I was growing up has been re-traumatizing and re-stimulating certain issues I had. Again, hey, Kate, do you want to ask a question of me while you're on the air, or anybody else can? Website is healingfromdepression.com. So I guess I should start, with a joke. You're in Sydney, Australia, 42. Yeah, you just missed it. You were born then in 1965, it sounds like, and that happened 2 years later. Do you read about it in your history books or anything like that? Yeah, it was. I'm sure people in Australia must have felt it also. Well, let's turn to why did Boris Karloff make so many horror movies? He was successful beyond his wildest screams. That was bad. Hey, Kate, did you get a notification that I'm on the air? Because I don't really see that many people on. I wonder if they sent out a notification. I should check my mail right now, see what was going on, because this notification should have been sent out. I mean, I am online, so people should have been notified, but I don't think I got a notification. Let me check it out here. How have you sustained employment over the years? I'll answer that in a question. Yeah, I don't think there was not a YouTube did not send out a notification that this live chat event is happening. So I have to ask about that. That is really a shame. Anyway, the only way I was able to sustain employment, Cade, was through self-employment. I did have a couple of part-time jobs working for U.S. Bank. Yeah, I don't know why you didn't get notified. Oh, well, I just heard a bop on my thingamajig. What happened? No, no notifications. I don't know what's going on. Well, the show must go on, as they say. But maybe I'll ask YouTube about that. But anyway, answer your question. Hi, Debbie. I'm nice to see you. Yeah, 2 times a week, Kate. Every Monday and every Sunday and Wednesday at noon Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. UK time. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying about employment, I had a couple of part-time jobs that really getting up in the morning and going to a structure outside of home. I have a little bit of agoraphobia. It was really hard. So it wasn't until 1986 that I started really working full-time out of my home as a writer, as a tutor, as a counselor, that I started to come into my own. So no sound, says Star? How could that be? My sound is fine. I see PreSonus. Didn't you say, okay, didn't you say that the sound was good? Maybe I'll move my microphone a little closer to me. I don't know. How is it now? Just trying to move this microphone so it's closer to my mouth. Sounds good to me, says Debbie. Okay, all right, then we'll just trust you two guys. Anyway, so did that answer your question, Kate, about the fact that I had to be self-employed and to have my own hours and stuff like that to really be able to, do my work? Because work doesn't necessarily mean just working for another person. Work means you're working for somebody else. It doesn't necessarily mean you're working for somebody else. It means that, you can work on your own and, many, many great people. I mean, look at Bill Gates, look at Steve Jobs. They both dropped out of college, one out of Reed, one out of Harvard, and they never worked for anybody else. They started their own business. So, that's what I've done. I've had my own business. So any questions from the 5 of you who are watching? Otherwise, I will continue to talk about, talk about gratitude, which is extremely important since we are the day before Thanksgiving. And I've done a couple of, thank you, Kate. I appreciate I answered your question. Yeah, so what about you guys, gratitude? Can you be grateful when you're depressed? Are there things to be thankful for even when you're kind of going through an episode or in the midst of hell? Well, we are coming up about, here at least in America, Thanksgiving, which is a holiday of, giving thanks based on what happens when the Pilgrims came here and they had a dinner with the Indians, or Native Americans, I should say, and they traded stuff. And so it's been around for a long time. But yeah, the idea, this is a time in America where people stop and think, what am I grateful for? My children, my spouse, my friends, my health, the fact I have a roof over my head, food in the cupboard, gas in the car, whatever it is, it's important to give thanks whatever the situation is. So anybody want to talk about, whether or not you guys have been able to sound like on the left side, not stereo? Well, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Let me see if these things are adjusted correctly. Oh, I see, the mix. Oh, okay. Now I see. Okay, you should have stereo now. Somebody played with my mix button. N-Star, can you tell me that it's a lot better now and you have it from both sides? I think that was the problem. The mix button was not recording stereo. So Project Brick 7, I've been on Paxil for 10 milligrams for anxiety and depression. Sorry about that. For 2 weeks, haven't felt myself since. For 2 years, okay, I haven't felt myself since. I want to get off it. How would you recommend going about it? Well, Project Bricks, that's an excellent question. How do you get off medications when they're not really working for you? By the way, N-Star, I think the sound is much improved. Let me know. Anyway, to answer your question, Project Bricks, the way to get off these medications is slowly, in teeny tiny doses and under the supervision of a psychiatrist, nurse practitioner, or medical doctor. That's what you've got to do. And especially Paxil. Paxil, I've been told, I've heard about, I've read about, it can be very difficult to come off of. If you come off it too abruptly, you could have all sorts of adverse side effects. People have said kind of feelings of electrical bolts going through them, or it can be very, very uncomfortable to go off of Paxil if you do it too quickly. So the two things, my answer comes in two parts, Project Bricks. One is get off it very slowly, and two, under the supervision of a doctor. And I think you can do it. What do you want? 100 you're in 10 milligrams. Unfortunately, you're on a really, really, really small dose. Many people are on 30 or 40. So what I would do is I would get 2 5-milligram tabs and then cut one in half and go from 10 to 7.5, maybe 2 weeks, 7.5 to 5 for 2 weeks, 5 to 2.5 and 2.5 to 0. Do it in 4 stages from 10 to 0. And but don't do it on your own. Make sure someone's supervising you. So Project Bricks, let me know if that answers the question. It all came about from taking Wellbutrin because smoking. You maybe have a major panic, and I've been going through it ever since. I'm really sorry. Wellbutrin does create anxiety in many people, and it's really a shame because it's a good medication. It's been helping me and helped others, but it does have the problem that sometimes it can launch people into anxiety. But your body can recover and will recover. If you're having anxiety, I would say intense exercise, putting your face in cold water while holding your breath, eating a lot of foods that that are calming, maybe taking some herbs. Harry, I'm giving up the carbs. They make you bloated. Well, that depends on how many carbs. Hi, Harry. Nice to see you back. Harry Matrusty. Sorry about that. That depends on what type of carbs you're talking about. I mean, if you have, I know, a sweet potato, I mean, that has carbs, but that's healthy carbs, right? If you have an apple, it has carbs. I mean, carbohydrates are broken down to glucose, which is the fuel for the body, so you can't escape them. So maybe you're talking about cutting back on simple carbs, but eating complex carbohydrates, grains, for example, is good for you, in moderation. So, answer did help. Thank you very much. Well, Project Bricks, do you have a doctor, a nurse practitioner, or a psychiatrist that you're working with right now? Let me know who's prescribing the 10 milligrams of Paxil for you. I'd like to know that because that would, then I'll know you have someone watching over the process. You had a whole pizza, Harry Matrusty? Well, that's that's a lot of carbs. You may want to basically, make it a couple of slices at a time. When I'm a writer, I try to reward myself by getting some really good Haagen-Dazs ice cream, putting it in the freezer, the freezer, right? and I was using keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. I'm not quite sure why YouTube is saying bad video settings. How are you guys seeing the video? Okay, is it coming out clearly? Anyway, yes, I tried putting ice cream in my freezer. And I was going to have maybe a half a cup every couple hours to reward myself for my writing. I take a break once an hour, have a half a cup, go back to writing, have another half a cup. After a half hour, go back to writing, etc. Well, on my first break, I ate the whole damn pint because ice cream is a trigger food for me. So if it's around, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to eat too much. So maybe that's the way with even pizzas. Maybe you need to not have it in your environment. Hey, you didn't get the notification, but remember the time. That's a good sign. Why did YouTube not send out notifications? I'm going to have to, I don't know, who do you ask about this? Probably because I had it on unlisted initially. Yeah, that must have been it. Well, I've learned my lesson. I thought you were a pescatarian vegan. Oh, Harry Matrusty, this is 25 years ago I'm talking about. This is a long time ago when I first started writing books. Yeah, no, I don't have Haagen-Dazs in the freezer now, and I haven't had ice cream in years. So, but, way back when my diet was very different, I would try to reward myself with ice cream. But, again, it was a trigger food. Video is very clear. Thank you, Kate. Have you had vegan ice cream? It's pretty good, but I stick to plant-based. Replace junk food with fruits. Yeah, well, there is coconut ice cream. There's a company called Coconut Bliss right outside of Eugene, just down the road. And yes, they have excellent ice cream, but it does have sugar in it. And a fruit is much healthier for you than sugar. Hey, the bad video notice from YouTube went away. Maybe something good is happening. So does that answer your question about well, you actually mentioned to me, Harry, you said that, yeah, fruits much better than ice cream. So how is your diet right now, Harry? And how are you doing in terms of your overall physical health? Because physical health is the foundation for mental and spiritual health. So you have to stop there. Your diet, your sleep, your exercise. 3 things I always ask my clients: how was your sleep last night? How have you been sleeping? Have you been exercising and moving? And what's your diet been like? If you got those under control. So I'm going to tell a joke I told last time, but probably different people are watching. So this comes from Joel Osteen, a very well-known minister in the United States. So there were 3 sons who were prospering, doing very well for themselves financially. They decided to reward their mother, who is a really good soul to them. And so one of them decided he was going to buy, we'll say Jeff said he was going to buy his mother, I'm going to buy Mom a really nice car. The other son says, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to build Mom a really big house. The third son says, well, you know how Mom loves the Bible, but she's really losing her eyesight? I have trained a parrot to recite every verse of the New Testament. That's going to be what I'm going to give her to express my appreciation. They give the gifts. A week later, they call up the mother. The mother says to the first son, you know that car you got me? Thank you for the thought, but it was way too small. She says to the second son, you know the house you bought me? It was way too big. And then she says to the third son, Dennis, but you gave me the perfect gift. That chicken was delicious. She thought that parrot was a chicken. She couldn't see. Okay, there you have it. My mom had me a pizza. I haven't had 1 month. Just very bloated. Well, you ate too quickly. Yeah, eating a whole pizza very quickly will bloat you, but that doesn't mean you need to get off of all carbohydrates. So, what can we do? We can talk about gratitude some more. So, Mr. B, I'm glad you liked it. So, you guys who are watching, guys and gals, do you feel grateful? If so, what are you grateful for? I'm hungry now, Harry. What kind of pizza? Okay, Cade, you got hungry from Harry's comment. So, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm not in the psychiatric hospital, which I was 21 months ago. I'm grateful that my mental health has been restored. I'm grateful that I have good friends. I'm grateful that I'm living in Portland, Oregon, which is a phenomenal city. Many things that I feel grateful for, and I'm very happy that, most important, I feel like I'm happy because my Thanksgiving, I have my peace of mind. Kate, I appreciate you like the joke. So, want to call your attention, by the way, to you loyal listeners, that at the very bottom of your chat screen, if you're on a laptop or desktop, there's a little star, a dollar sign, and it essentially says super chat. Well, it's a dollar sign with a vertical line. It's a super chat button. It gives you the opportunity to contribute to the channel, to make a small donation, and if so, your question will come right to the top of the feed. So, Thanksgiving is not only a time to feel grateful, but it's a time to give. Hey, Comic Spot, hi. Have you been on this before? Again, we didn't send the notifications out. I'm glad you're here. Do you have any questions to ask? Do you have any comments about depression and anxiety? I should mention, oh my God, I just posted something, published something on Monday called Do You Have Bipolar Disorder? So any of you who are listening, all 12 of you, do any of you have manic depression or bipolar disorder? Because it's a very sneaky illness or disease or disorder, because the manic part is so darn addicting because it feels so darn good. Okay, there's a depressive condition called schizoaffective disorder. Would you allow them to join your therapy group? Yeah, schizoaffective disorder means a person who suffers from depression and every now and then has a psychotic episode where they're delusional or, somehow not seeing reality right, but that can be controlled and managed by a number of different medications. So yes, I've had a number of people who have schizodepressive disorder in my group and who I've coached long distance. Oh, It's also on the mobile. Great. A lot of people have told me they can't see the $, the super chat. Well, Comic Spot, contribute $1 or $2. That would be great. We could really see that it works here. And also, please, do I have a Patreon, says IY? I'm putting one up next month, probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks. What do you know about Patreon, about how you can contribute to that? I guess you must know. You wouldn't have asked me the question. No front end. What if there's too much information in my head and I start to feel overwhelmed? What I would do is I would sit down, close your eyes, and take a couple of really deep breaths, and just watch your mind. And as your mind, as the thoughts come, imagine them as clouds floating by in the sky or leaves going down a river, and then come back to your breath. That's called meditation. The other thing to do is get outside and do something physical, like run as fast as you can for 30 seconds, or weed the garden, or do some chores, or wash the dishes. Do something physical to take your mind off your mind and put it on something outside of yourself. So those are 2 very good ideas. So let me know if that helps, No for Nen. So, Nen Star, my mom went off for Paxil and Depakote recently. She had no business and she tried many times before. It never worked. She ended up suicidal. Well, that's what happens when you go off your medications too quickly. You can have relapses. So I hope your mom's getting the help they need. They put her back on meds and sent her home after 3 days. Acid hydroxyzine 2 days after she blacked out at home. Broke her nose. Had hip surgery last week. Wow. Yes, Dalshine doesn't always appear on mobile devices. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm sorry that happened, and yeah, so you have to watch out with the visceral hydroxyzine. It can make some people too groggy. That's why you should always be under the auspices of a good doctor or psychiatrist. Harry Mitrusty says, I'm on the natural alternative to lithium called lithium orotate, and I take it 3 times a week. Have you heard of it? Yes, I have. I have a bottle right here in my house. And many of my clients take lithium orotate as an alternative to lithium carbonate. Now, so Hari, have you seen the video I posted on Monday called Do You Have Bipolar Disorder? Because as I was explaining, the manic state, the high state, as Kay Jameson says, when you're high, it's tremendous. It's, you are in heaven. But if you remember the story of Icarus, the son of Daedalus, the inventor of the labyrinth, he had wings made of wax and feathers. And when he flew too close to the sun, when he got too high, the sun melted the wax. The feathers no longer worked, and he crashed into the sea and died. So that's a metaphor for what happens when people get overly manic. Isaac Newton said in the 1600s, what goes up must come down. So that's the danger of the manic side of manic depression. So yes, Harry, if you have bipolar 2, probably it would work. Do you have bipolar 1 or bipolar 2? I think lithium orotate, I've seen people with bipolar 2 use it. Harrison Wells Flash TV show. Well, I didn't even, thank you for the comment, because I don't know who Harrison Wells is, Comic Spot. What are your thoughts on gabapentin for anxiety? Thanks for being you. Thank you. IY, what country are you from? Well, I have used gabapentin in the past when I've been in anxiety. It's actually used for nerve pain primarily. It's also a mood stabilizer. So yeah, it can work. I mean, something that's going to work more quickly and faster would be Klonopin, Xanax, Valium, Ativan, the 4 benzodiazepines. But of course, 1, they can be addictive, and 2, they only last for 20 or 30 minutes, and then you're done with them. And then you have to take another one. So, but they can cut a really bad panic attack. But gabapentin can be used for anxiety, but like every other medication, it's all about trial and error, and what works for some people doesn't work for another person. So that's my answer to that question. That gabapentin is a good medication, but you have to try it to see what happens. So, has any person here been manic? Has any person here been, on a manic high? It can be thrilling until it ends, or even hypomanic. I've been hypomanic because I'm bipolar 2. I remember many years ago I came into some money and I started investing it in the stock market. We were having a bull market, so Of course, everything I touched turned to gold because the market was going up in general. So the mutual funds I picked, the stocks I picked, were all doing well. And I got so hypomanic, I thought, wow, I'm a genius. I should write a book on how to pick stocks. When, of course, I had no business background. I didn't know how to read a financial spreadsheet. I had no business, thinking that way. I was a little bit grandiose, a little bit delusional. Fortunately, I had enough sense to, sell some of the funds, and so when the market went down, I was cut my losses. But for a couple of weeks there, I was really thinking that I was, Mr. Stockbroker. That is a manic state. What's the slow mood? It just means that people's questions to me come a little bit more slowly than they would if it weren't on the slow mode. That's really it. So, getting back to gratitude, does anybody feel they have anything to be grateful for? I haven't heard from anyone about gratitude. Well, what you focus on expands. So, essentially, if there are things going on in your environment, where attention goes, energy flows. So, here's a good example. So we have 2 people in Portland, Oregon, right here in November, and it's raining. So one person says, my God, this rain, I hate it. I'm from Southern California. I can't live here. The second person says, it's raining, which means there's snow in the mountains, which means I can go skiing. And I can't wait till the weekend when I get off work and I can go skiing. So you see, it's not the event itself, it's our interpretation of the event that really determines how we feel. Carole King had a song, a very famous singer, "You make me feel like a natural woman." Nobody can make you feel anything. You determine how you feel based on how you interpret the events. Abraham Lincoln once said, that most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. N-Star, grateful for my dog Kumari. Well, a lot of people are grateful for their pets because, as I said in my video on pets and healing from depression, that pets are, to some people, even better than people in terms of bonding and giving and receiving unconditional love. It's pets can really make a difference in a person's mental health. So I'm glad you love your dog. Harry, my iPad died. Well, sorry about that. Maybe you can go on your iPhone. Comic Spot, have you experienced ASMR? Well, why don't you let me know what ASMR is? That would be very helpful very helpful if we know what that stands for. Going back to what I said, today is November 22nd. Is anybody, was anybody here watching old enough to remember the assassination of John F. Kennedy? Anybody who's watching an American who would, even if you weren't old enough, you certainly know about it from history and what people have been telling you. So I'm just curious if anybody here was alive during the assassination or simply learned about it when they were growing up. It was a nationally traumatic moment. Everybody I know remembers exactly where they were when the news broke. It's like a birth, a wedding. You don't forget those things. This etched itself on the national psyche, and unfortunately, it was a very, very tragic thing. I think if Kennedy had lived, we wouldn't have escalated in the Vietnam War. Mr. B says, I'm grateful for a lot of things. Thing is, holiday season triggers anxiety for me. So, Mr. B, do you know why that is? Holiday season, by the way, is very tough for a lot of people. It's a time when you're supposed to be happy and, happy-go-lucky, but a number of things happen during the holidays. One, a lot of people who don't have family feel isolated and left out when everybody has their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles flying in for a big holiday dinner. What if you're single? What if you don't have family? It makes you feel crappy. The other situation is that when we're going towards Christmas, we're going towards the winter solstice, and that's when the days get shorter and the night gets longer, the light decreases. We're going into like a hibernation time. So this is a time when people should slow down and be more meditative. And what happens is just the opposite. They go running around doing all these different things and scattering here and there. It goes against the natural flow of the body to go internal, and that causes a lot of dissonance in the body. So holidays are stressful for everyone. Harry says, yeah, the 2 manic episodes I recall were completely delusional and grandiose. I got into 3 bar fights and ended up in the hospital thinking I was a BMX racer and skateboarder. So Harry, you have bipolar disorder, bipolar 1. What are you taking forward? Oh, the lithium orotate. How is that working for you? It's not as strong as lithium carbonate. I want to know how you're doing on it. You would sleep for 15 minutes and feel completely re-energized. Scott Power says, how much do you think the health of your gut affects mental health? Leading research has shown that the health of the gut is critical to good mental health. There's more serotonin receptors in your gut than there are in your brain. So I believe that people should take probiotics or eat foods like fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi, which is my favorite, or miso, and a lot of beans, because when they break down, your body converts them into probiotics. But yeah, you definitely need to have good probiotics in your gut to have good mental health. So again, probiotic supplements, fruits, vegetables, and fermented foods. IY says, I'm not old enough to remember JFK, but my parents were, and they remember. Are you in America? Did you grow up in the United States, IY? I'd like to know. Thank you for bringing that up. No psychopathy, I just stay manic to be easy. Oh, so you're cyclothymic? Well, if you have cyclothymia, that is manic depression, a milder type. Instead of going up and down like this, your moods are, like a sine wave with a lower amplitude. So, yeah, so cyclothymia is not as serious as bipolar 1, but it still can get you in trouble by your own accounts. You got in those fights in the bar. Just wanted to mention about my book, Healing from Depression. Right here, something that I wrote after I came out of my episode in the end of the 90s. It's 12 Weeks to a Better Mood. It has my 12-week recovery program. And it's extremely helpful to people. And you can get it on Amazon.com, or you can go to my website, healingfromdepression.com. Or if you want a link to the book, you can email me, douglasblock@gmail.com. That would be really cool. Please write me with any questions you've got. Excellent. Thank you, Douglas. No order says fermented foods. What means that's great? Well, Scott Power, thank you for the comment, but go to any health food store and ask where the fermented foods section is. There's tons of kimchi, there's tons of sauerkraut. There are other fermented foods I don't know about. I think, yeah, miso is definitely fermented. Even tamari is fermented. So yeah, start eating those foods. Mr. B says, I would think it's the winter solstice coming along with winter cold. In the case dealing with my family when you're feeling kind of down. Yes, Mr. B, that is why your anxiety is going up during this type of year. That's a very astute observation. Mike Cooper, hello. Nice to hear from you, Mike. How to stop anxiety or retrain your amygdala? I'm on 100 milligrams of sertraline, which I think is Zoloft, if I remember. You're on Zoloft. Well, when you said retrain your amygdala, did you see my video called How to Rewire Your Anxious Brain? You must have seen that. And in that video, if you're wanting to retrain the amygdala, which is a sentinel of fear, which is an almond-shaped gland in your midbrain, your limbic system, 3 ways. 1 is intense exercise, 2 is intense exercise, and 3 is intense exercise. That's what I recommend for dealing with generalized anxiety. Also, deep paced breathing is the second thing I'd recommend. Meditation is another thing, and also, this seems kind of strange, but if you fill your sink or a bucket in cold water and put your head in it and hold your breath as long as you can, that initiates something called the dive response, D-I-V-E. Divers, when they go underwater, they have to do that, and somehow that turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, or the relaxation response, and it calms down the anxiety. Also, you can use benzodiazepines like Klonopin, Xanax, Valium, and Ativan on an as-needed basis. They can help, or something called Vistaril, which is an antihistamine, which is not habit-forming also. So a combination of behavioral things and medications. That's how most people treat anxiety. Hope that was helpful. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, thank you for that donation. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for pursuing your mental health recovery. Harry Matrussi says, I can finally say I've made a full recovery, social life, interact, friendships, good exercise. I feel completely good with the way I look, more optimistic to depressive setbacks or hypomanic symptoms. Well, good. So Harry Matrussi, tell me how you made this full recovery. Was it a combination of lifestyle and medication? You're on the lithium orotate. Probably you've doing other things like exercise, self-care things like exercise, connecting with people socially, eating well, sleeping well, meditation, having structure in your life, prayer, etc. Yes, Scott, remember to eat those fermented foods. Definitely a good thing. So what do we have thankful for? We have some people saying they're thankful for their dog. Anything else I can see that people are thankful for? I forgot what else someone mentioned, but yeah, make a list. When this video is ending in about 9 minutes, I want you to make a list of 5 things either you're thankful for or 5 things that have gone well in the last week. Write that list down and email it to me, douglasblock@gmail.com. And if you do so, I'll send you a free ebook of my memoir, When Going Through Hell Don't Stop, which I wrote right after I came out of one of my depressive episodes. It just poured out of me. And it's quite an interesting story about how I fell into darkness, was suicidal for 9 months and healed. So send me 5 things that you've been grateful for, things that have gone well in the last week, to douglasblock@gmail.com, and I'll send you a free ebook. Seems like a good trade, doesn't it? Well, let's see if we can find out. Well, here's a joke I said last time, which people like. What did one elevator say to the other? I think I'm coming down with something. Not bad, huh? All right. Any other questions that you may have? Mike Cooper says, people have said to me you can't overcome anxiety when you have it. Well, what does that mean? Of course you can overcome anxiety. You can, if you read my memoir, if you send me the 5 grateful things and I send you the memoir, you'll see that every morning I would get up, have someone drive me to the pool, and I would swim 36 to 56 laps until I was exhausted and sit in the hot tub. That will tamp down your anxiety. There's so many things you can do. You just go, Mike, just go on the internet and look up anxiety treatments or books for treating anxiety. Go to Amazon.com and look up books for treating anxiety. There's a ton of them out there. The best one, which has been around forever, is called the Anxiety and Phobia Workbook by Edward Bourne, B-O-U-R-N-E. I think I'll go ahead and I'll type that in if I can. Yeah, it's called something like this, Anxiety and Phobia Workbook. Sorry that it's shaking when I type. This is a kind of a cheap table I have for the laptop. Okay, do you see that? Anxiety and Phobia Workbook? So check that book out at the library or buy it on Amazon. It will really help give you tons of tools for your anxiety. So Mike, you can overcome your anxiety. Whoever said that wasn't really being very helpful. Religious exercise enhances ability. My rumination, I need to tune my psyche to reduce my anxiety. B vitamins, all sounds very good, Harry. You're doing a wonderful job. Keep up the good work. Yeah, reduce my anxiety. B vitamins, yeah. Vitamins and minerals, very important. A good diet is essential. So what else to be grateful for? Well, grateful for that we live in a pretty decent country, whether you're living in the United Kingdom or you're living in Australia, living in America. We are blessed to be in places that are democracies and give us the ability to, to speak freely and openly and all the rights that we do have. Feeling Good by David Byrne, IY. Yeah, excellent, David. Good, excellent, IY. That book has been out forever, ever. Mike Cooper, you should take a look at that book. You know what really helped, Doug? If you type in, can you recover from depression or bipolar disorder? It says everybody's recovery is individualistic and you want mental stability, you can find it. That's right, Harry. That's why I say setting the intention to heal is the first step in mental health recovery. I even have a video. Go on the channel, type in setting the intention to heal, and you'll find that video. It's always about your desire to get well. When you're one-pointed and you've made up your mind you're going to get well, that attracts to you all the resources, help, and people you need. So I believe you. If you really want your mental stability, you can find it. Scott says, have you had much experience with adaptogens? Do they find they work? Well, I take something called maca, M-A-C-A powder, because there's a guy who's a triathlete and lives in British Columbia named Brendan, who founded a company called Vega, V-E-G-A. It's a supplement company. And he claims that maca powder really helps him with his endurance. So I take maca every day and I feel that my energy is really good. Now, this is not a scientific experiment. What if I stop taking it? Would I feel any different? I don't know. But adaptogens, I think, are a good thing. Probably the most famous adaptogen for overcoming depression is called something called rhodiola. It grows in something like Outer Mongolia or Mongolia. It's supposed to be really, really good for depression, mild depression, of course. Scott, have you ever heard of it? I will attempt to type it right here. R-H-O-D-I-O-L-A. It's called rhodiola. Check it out. Harry Matrus says, I would just be normal, then hypomanic, then depressive for 5-10 days. It just makes you feel your life is very inconsistent. Now I'm consistently happy. I'm smiling right now, LOL. Harry, keep it up. Share that with your friends. Let people know. You know, go to some of my my YouTube videos, Harry, and when you see people saying I'm giving up, it's too much, you know, share your experience. Let people know that depression recovery is possible. There is life after depression. There is life after anxiety. So, sounds still good, guys? Whoops. Yeah, a little, shouldn't be in the red there. Yeah, whoever said we didn't have enough stereo, thank you. There was a setting I had to change, and that really took care of everything. So thank you. Whoever said there wasn't enough stereo, I'll go look earlier and see if I can thank that person, but no, it doesn't look like I could be able to. So anyway, thank you who said that. So, gratitude, Thanksgiving. Gratitude affects the brain. Gratitude helps to change your brain chemistry. Every thought you think has a neurochemical equivalent. Every feeling you have has a neurochemical equivalent. Every time you exercise, every time you think a thought, take an action, feel a feeling, it changes your brain. So don't say that, don't let people tell you, oh, you inherited depression, you inherited anxiety, you inherited bipolar, you inherited schizophrenia, there's nothing you can do about it. The brain is amazingly neuroplastic. It can change with your thoughts, feelings, and actions. What time am I ending? I'm ending in about 3 minutes, Harry. I'm doing this 45 minutes because I have to help get ready for Thanksgiving dinner. So thank you for, I really appreciate your feedback today, Harry. And so yeah, on Sundays and Wednesdays at noon, by the way, Pacific time, 8 p.m. UK time. So these are when the video chats are happening. I'm going to be doing the next one this coming Sunday. What is today? The 22nd, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably it's the 26th of November. Sounds silly, says Mike, but my anxiety worries me over death, heaven, and hell. I'm not that religious, just feel bad. Are you saying that you're concerned about heaven and hell after death, Mike? Let me know if that's what's going on. But I hope you're seeing a good counselor or therapist. They can really help you with your anxiety symptoms. Scott, yes, rhodiola, ashwagandha, tulsi, licorice root, and ginseng. Wow, you have done your the lower cortisol. Excellent. So Scott, before we close out of this video chat, can you please reply and tell me which of those you're eating or consuming? Rhodiola, I've heard of. Ashwagandha, I forgot about. Tulsi, yes. Licorice, I know, but that increases blood pressure, which I have high. And ginseng, yes. And maca is the one I mentioned. So are you taking any of them? Scott, don't eat licorice. I've read some of the stuff in licorice. It looks like pretty terrible. Well, okay, what are the fermented foods you're eating, says Harry McTrusty? Just 2 things, sauerkraut and kimchi. Do you know how to spell kimchi? It's a Korean food. We have tons of Korean food markets in America. Maybe you do in the UK. Kimchi. I think it's C-H-I. There you have it. Kimchi. And if you want to go to my website, Healing from healingfromdepression.com. All right. Well, if anybody has any final questions, let me know. It's been a small group today. Again, I apologize for the notifications not going up, and I don't know what happened. I'll have to tell YouTube about that, but Scott says, I'm drinking Tulsi tea and taking ashwagandha on and off. Have you noticed any difference? Someone gave me Tulsi tea years ago and said it was fantastic, and I never used it, but now it's much more common. This man lived in India and was hip on all the stuff, good stuff coming out of India, and that's how I got onto it. But I'll talk to my health food store when I go there tonight to buy a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. Ashwagandha is an amazing anxiety reducer. Wow. So, Hari, have you tried it? Does it reduce your anxiety? I'll look it up in the internet. That's really cool. I'd like to. I'm going to take a screenshot right now. Whoopsie daisy. Hope you didn't hear that. I'm going to took a screenshot so I could write down all those herbs later on. All right. So those of you who are watching, I wish you a great Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. What is right what I said, Doug? Mike Cooper? I'm trying to remember. Tell me one more time what I said before we close. Oh, wow. Thanks for everything. Food for thought. You might want to take a couple of minutes break, say midpoint, so people can donate without missing a chat. That's a really good idea, Mr. B. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Mr. B, I'm going to have a Patreon page. Do you know what Patreon is? It's a crowdsourcing page where people who are creators, especially doing YouTube videos, can let people subscribe to them for $1 a month and help pay for the expenses and the time that it takes to make these videos and do these live chats. So, yeah. Well, you're thinking about heaven and hell and death. Well, those are pretty heavy subjects. And you might want to talk. Do you have a minister or a rabbi or a priest you can talk to? These are spiritual subjects. Or talk to your shrink. But, you know, one of my good friends is dying right now. You know, I wonder what will happen after death to him and to myself. So these are common things to worry about or think about. What comes after death? You know, where do you go? Who are we? Where are we coming from? These are existential issues that are very common. Now, if you find yourself causing you anxiety or you're obsessing about them, then you should see a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist, a social worker, a minister, priest, or rabbi, and talk about this. If it isn't interfering with your thinking and causing you lack of peace, you should talk to somebody about that. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, IY. Take L-theanine supplement. It helps you. Yeah, L-theanine is a very, very good supplement. I've heard that. Like green tea may be due to theanine. I've heard theanine, and it's also good for helping reduce anxiety. Yeah, you know, everything is up for grabs. Everything is about trial and error, trying things, using things, seeing what happens, and that's essentially how you find relief, how you move forward in your depression, mental health recovery. You try things and see what works. Oh, N-Star, thanks for praying for Mike. And by the way, we'll end on that. Mike, if you want to have some relief, here is an amazing resource. I did a video on it. It's called Silent Unity. You know, I think I have a function here. Let me see if this actually works. Oh, well, I was going to try using dictation on the iPad, not while I'm in video. Silent Unity. 800-669-7729. Wow. It worked. There's the number you can call for prayer support. M. Cooper, Mike Cooper, and everybody else. Silent Unity, 1-800-669-7729. Highly, highly recommended. And it will really, really, they'll say a beautiful prayer for you, send you an affirmation, and that, you know, it's a really great service. Okay, I'll reduce it to 15 seconds next time. Thank you. Harry, is that because it makes it difficult for you to type in the questions? Let me know that. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. So, Harry, tell me why you want the slow mode reduced to 15 seconds. If that would help people ask questions, I would definitely do it. I can do it right after we get off the phone. So I'll wait for your response, and then I will we'll get ready to close up shop here. Actually, Harry, you can actually continue. You and I can continue this dialogue after I go off live chat. It goes on. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for tuning in. The next video chat is on Sunday at noon. And yes, you can, you're a fast typer. Okay, well, I will reduce it to 15 seconds and we'll see what happens. I see. Oh, so slow mo means your thing won't go up until 25 seconds. Now I see what you're talking about. Okay, I will definitely reduce it for the next live chat. So Harry, thank you for participating. I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad your mental health recovery is going well. And happy holidays, everybody. Until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. And you can continue to ask me questions or chat with each other on the chat screen after we're done. But again, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. Remember, write 5 things you're grateful for, or 5 things that went well in the last week. Send them to me, or at least write them down and repeat them to yourself. Okay, we'll talk to you in the next during our next session.